All right, everyone.
Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
All right, everyone. Please silence any unnecessary cellular or electronic devices. I'd like to call the meeting to order. With the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take roll, please.
Brown,
Here.
Fenlon,
Present.
Black,
Here.
Yoder,
Here.
Brush,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Nixon,
Here.
Creaky,
Here.
Bailey, and Heisman.
Here.
Consideration of the agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda for that.
Support that.
Motion by Yoder, second by Nixon. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any comments? Hearing none. Move on to public comment. Anybody online? Assuming he's here. For the Cleveland.
Yeah.
Staff comments. Consideration of the April 22nd, 2025 meeting minutes.
I can motion.
Question?
I was waiting for discussion, but I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from April 22nd, 2025 as presented.
There you go.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No old business. Moving on to new business. Staff, would like to present them?
Sure. This is a request that was received on May 7th from Cleveland Township. The last day to review is June 6th under the 30-day review period. Their requested action is to review and comment on proposed amendment to the Cleveland Township zoning ordinance, Article 8 Business District, Section 8.05 Land Occupancy in Buildings. Section 3 Other planning input. The Cleveland Township Master Plan states the following in Chapter 6. Action step 1, amend the Cleveland Township zoning ordinance to provide additional housing growth in specific areas in the township. Areas such as the former Sugarloaf Resort area and the southern portion of the township near County Road 667 to support additional homes. The Leelanau General Plan does not specifically address this amendment. Cleveland Township Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on May 7th, at which time the following motion was passed. You can see it's a rather lengthy motion there. The draft minutes were not available at the time the report was prepared. However, I was provided a copy of the motion. Section 4, the analysis. Is the proposed text compatible with other language in the zoning ordinance? Yes. Are there any issues with the proposed text? No. We did not find any issues of greater than local concern. Moving on to section 5, the history. The Cleveland Township Board enacted a temporary moratorium on any new activities related to development in the business 1 and 2 districts on February 4th. The Planning Commission began developing the proposed amendment to support the master plan and the purpose of the zoning ordinances related to the health, safety, and welfare in the township. Section 6, staff comments. showing you what the current Article 8, how that reads. All buildings or structures in this district shall be erected or altered or used in such a manner that will not result in occupation of more than 50% of the lot area. And this proposed amendment will amend that and add a sentence to the end of it reading, the maximum size for non-residential buildings or structures shall be 5,000 square feet. And then lastly, just a staff note that the current Article 8 Business District, Section 8.05 in the zoning ordinance online is blank. But I did reach out to the township, it's just a scrivener's error in formatting and that will be corrected.
Sure, come start here on the right, Lois.
Well, the Cleveland Township Commission recommends adoption of an amendment to section 8.5, and then if you go down to like the third paragraph, residential structures have a higher cost per square foot than non-residential structures, and shall be less likely to be constructed of a size that is greater than practical use. That seems puzzling, because people spend money here with wild abandonment, and I can't imagine that there's a real constraint to building expensive big buildings. Issues of greater local concern, does the proposed text amendment include any issues of greater local concern? Certainly is greater than local concern, and that's listed on the general plan, so I just put a no there. Yeah. Other than that, I understand where you're proposing an increase in residential use and density, it makes sense.
Yeah, I had a similar kind of puzzling time trying to understand the language there, but I also don't think that it's inappropriate. So I don't really have any issue with it. I was just curious maybe why it's worded that way. It almost seems unnecessary is all, but go ahead.
So that was based on legal counsel advice. The last two go from
Want to sit up here just a second?
Otherwise, you won't be
play with the grandkid then.
Okay. So yeah, in motion, the last two items were on advice of council. Since we are doing, we're discriminating as far as we're separating out residential from non-residential.
I have feeling maybe that was a legal thing. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not gonna pretend.
Neither am I.
But no,
I'm responsible for the earlier ones. Those were all part of things we discussed, the first two,
yeah, that is.
the housing and our master.
I find no objections, and I was just curious, and obviously it was probably in the minutes, which you didn't see, but curious where the 5,000 came from, but that was the main. Otherwise, I had no issues with it, and yeah, but I was just curious.
Others in the county have 5,000.
Okay, that was just staying consistent. Thank you.
They've already said what I thought of, it seemed like blanket statements that are, could be true, maybe, but not always.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I can see.
Yeah, I didn't have any major concern. I suspect that 5,000 square feet means total, but not 5,000 per floor. And sometimes it's helpful to a reader to reference the language that might be elsewhere in the zoning ordinance that would help the reader understand the setbacks you know, the dimensions that are permitted on that site.
I mean, that is in the ordinance, the setback.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah,
You might, I'm suggesting you might cite that, see whatever section it is, or
okay.
refer to section something else. Sometimes that's helpful to a novice reader.
Nothing else.
No objections. Much covered.
My understanding is that there's no conflicts with anything that's coming out. That correct? There's no conflicts with anything that's coming out. And I move for approval.
I know what we're doing there. Find it puzzling why it says what it does. And ultimately is not an ordinance, discussion. It's not fun.
Pretty much the thoughts I had has been said about. Anybody gonna want to watch?
I did.
You did.
No approval.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Mike Ricky, second by Mr. Albert. That's it, well. Just, all in favor? All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You'll probably see me next month too. He's- Goes with this is pilot ordinance. We're writing,
I was looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Well, really, so that.
Take care here.
Move on to item 2. From 26 through 2030 CIP proposed projects. Yeah, when I talked earlier, there's something like 25 CIP projects to add, so we should set the first up in bits and pieces. Here's the first bits. So how do we vote? Discussion on that one.
You want to start, yeah, and then we'll have to rank each one.
For newcomers, but benefit, can you just kind of give an outline of what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it, as we look at each one?
Do you mind?
So we can go each one. These are just little summaries of the submittals. If you have questions, I do have like the complete submittals here. And these are how we're gonna rank them. So if we start with the first one, 2026-01, aftermarket radio encryption. Anybody have any questions on that one?
For the sheriff.
Alright.
That's for the sheriff.
For 911 in the sheriff's office.
Yeah, they have several.
Yeah.
And I think they're all mandated.
Yeah. Can we put them all together? And the other second question I have is. Is it, do we need to know how much money there is?
No.
For capital? That's the. Yeah, the other is.
Yeah, we're not doing the money on site.
Okay.
That's not our issue.
Okay, good. Yeah, because it is kind of big.
So if you
Go ahead.
if you look at the dates on each one, 2025 is the first one, $89,637 for radio encryption. I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough to know. You have to do these things in a certain order, like you don't have a server that's up to date, how can you do any of those other things? But I assume because the updating to the server replacement doesn't come until 2028. And it's hard to make a decision when you don't know these things very well.
I would assume that they put these together based on how they to implement them. That's why they've got the different years on them. For us, it's a matter of reading through them and ranking them, prioritizing them based on the priority ranking that was handed out the other day as well. Myself, I looked at the very first one. As I went through it, it says the state of Michigan will require this information to be done, so basically it's being mandated. So based on the priority listing here, basically it's priority one. Completely correct, no, complies with federal or state requests. Whose implementation timeframe is too short to allow for long range planning.
That's quite critical for, not to have. There's a reason the state made it mandated.
Well, that kind of drives the two hardware purchases of the mobile. If you change the encryption process, then that's where you're gonna have to buy the equipment below.
Correct.
So it forces that, and that's a 3/4, no, it's about a little over 50% of the whole purchase, 700,000. So I think they all want to go together. Those three apps. It'd be interesting to know how many units you have to buy and how many. It'd be nice to know that there's X amount of police, they need, and fire and everything they needed, there's how many we're buying.
Yeah, I mean, that should be part of it, the detail. I'm guessing there's more, but I don't know that we need to get in the weeds of that. It's more just based on those criteria. We just have to rank them, and then Steve is more.
Yeah.
Figure it out on a county level.
So if I'm incorrect, in assuming that to change the encryption, that's driving the purchase of the handhelds. Because then you would rate those all, if one's mandated, I don't know, I think they'd all flow together.
I understand what you're saying, I'm not qualified to necessarily comment on that.
Same thing, I'm not either. Like I said, I gotta assume.
Challenging to say, because otherwise, like a lot of hardware and software, you can put off. You don't have to change it, but if the encryption makes what we have now obsolete, then they go to they don't.
And
You could prioritize them.
And that's something we don't know, but looking at the way that they broke these out and they're asking for us to prioritize them based on each individual one. Like that first one is a state mandated item. So me, a state mandated item is a priority one. I would look at the other two, those would be put off here, but yeah, I see how they flow.
Well, they kick in 1/1/26, so. They'll do the encryption now, and it's gonna take 120 days, and then by the time they get it tested, they'll fire the equipment up and buy it right away.
Yeah.
So I think they run concurrently. And they're pretty short term.
So they're.
But we should, that's something we should ask, we should know. Otherwise, like hardware and software. That's the reason that's 28 is because you don't have to do that. It's not mandated. Maybe, I don't know how long you can run.
Steve,
I'll speak to this a little bit because I'm very well, I sit on the 911 committee, so I know what's coming down here. Everything that you see here is mandated by the FBI. We have to do it. What the 911 and emergency management has to have in place is a plan in place by October of this year.
Okay.
And so that's why you're seeing it in the CIP. I recommended them put it in the CIP this year so we can start planning as a board how to fund this thing.
Gotcha.
So that's why some of the stuff may not have even had to be in this year because it, we're not gonna be able to do it this year, but we're putting it in the CIP. So it's not a sticker shock when we get it next year or 2 years down the road. But some of the stuff, yeah, like to your question, I think there's 40 some radios, but they cost like $8,000 a piece, and then you gotta encrypt them, and a lot of them, you're not able to encrypt them because they're dual. So that's why they gotta read, so some of the stuff maybe not necessarily important this year, but they wanted it on, or I wanted it on the CIP, so we can start planning as a board how to budget for this going down the road, because since this is a 5-year plan. So hopefully that answers some
Yeah,
of the
that's very
questions.
good, thank you.
Is there the additional obligation that it has to be, the plan is submitted by October?
Yes, we have to have a plan in place by the end of this year.
So help you guys out too,
Yeah.
to get this thing moving. I just have one question that's definitely related to this. None of these that we're looking at today are resubmittals, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The next guy.
I was hoping maybe somewhere,
The next
we can look at what they were
one.
rated before, yeah, and then make them easier, but, anyways, yeah, go on.
So they pretty much given us the dates for the years, so that puts a bunch of us in 2026 prior to.
Yeah, but I think they wanna take these one by
I would
one.
like to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Prioritize them. So, I was looking at the first one, and I see that's a state mandated, and myself, I feel one.
This
So
will
you
be
guys
my
wanna go through everybody? Individually?
We can vote on it.
I think that'd be wise if you, if you go through one by one, and then we get an average based on what it's varying. Based
Okay.
on that, that'd be my recommendation. at least.
All right. Who's baby?
So you want me to tell you where I feel like the GIS system?
No, we're on the-
Oh, on the very first
Very
one.
first, yeah.
I agree, it's priority one.
Same priority one.
I recommend one, yeah.
one.
One.
Mr. Creek?
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
We still need.
Do we? No.
No.
The second one. CAD GIS Pro upgrade.
And the projected timeline is 2026, so that gives you some parameter. Number two, yes,
Not necessarily.
not necessarily, okay.
Is there anything the order that you can add to this on this one?
No, this, I think this has to do kind of with the same thing, but yeah, it's just not as pertinent, I believe, so.
It's on the old system and then, so we'll do it now to get that more current. And when you buy the new system, that's
Just-
irrelevant.
It's kind of just a plan that.
And it's just a project manager coming in tweaking the software.
Like what they have currently is upcoming, we're not gonna continue to use
Yeah.
it, but it's gonna be upgraded.
Upgraded, yeah.
Kind of
But it
the-
can be upgraded, where somebody says, when the equipment gets over 7 years, you gotta turn.
So what? You're on now?
No, sorry.
Okay. I was thinking it as a number two, so it's very important, and it has to follow the year that's designated.
The year really isn't necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it,
It's more of a plan.
right, it's more the plan. Is it a priority for 2026, number one, and number two?
And I don't think it can be so long, so I'd still say it's a number two.
Mr. Bennett?
I would concur.
Yeah.
I have this too.
Mr. Black?
I would, they keep saying not supported by something, I see that on the phone all the time, this won't be supported after this date. Your computer says it won't be supported after this date, but then you continue to use it, it works fine, I know 3.
Two.
Mr. Hayes?
I think it's a two, but I'm kind of struggling with, what's being bought. Why it's capital rather than operation.
Nothing we can want. They're,
Well, I mean, it's gonna be.
right, but no, they're tweaking the existing software, and then another one coming down the line,
Yeah.
they're gonna rebuy.
So why is that? Capital.
And it's just
Yeah.
No, sure.
But should be a regular maintenance. Unless it came out as a result of the encryption, but then that would make it a one, and it doesn't appear to read that way. So is that buried? Steve, do you know if that's buried in the
What was it?
annual maintenance? So the question is this a capital expenditure or is it just an annual maintenance, which should be in the P and L?
It's not an annual maintenance that I'm aware of. But this is my question on the boards.
Yeah,
I can't see what was in the past.
I'll withdraw the question.
No,
It's almost seems like it's legal importance to the first one.
I was struggling between one and two myself, I was leaning more work for two.
Two was the majority, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We had a couple of deviants.
Project number 3, Lex virtual server replacement. This is an anticipated start date of 1/28.
Yeah.
Forward.
No, it's actually.
But basically, it looks like what everyone, I was reading through, it looks like they were getting ahead of the game. They're trying to plan ahead, you know, they say that basically these servers have a roughly 7-year life. Which would put it around 2027, I thought it said. So yeah, it says the life expectancy is 7 years and it was installed in 2020.
Yeah, so start first thing 2020.
And this is FBI driven too.
I don't believe so.
Well, this one, this is FBI, Steve, this is FBI driven.
No, I don't think this was.
No.
There's no legal obligation to complete this project.
Okay. So is there any advice, if food labels expires, you can pick them out quite a bit longer? Is this Motorola trying to?
I mean, just personally having a discussion, I think that something that's, just as there is 911 and dispatch and having those systems work as perfectly as they can, to me, it just automatically becomes a number one. That's just my look at it, is that, you know, one of the justifications is that, you know, service disruption, I see that, and like, nobody ever wants to have that happen, especially if it's your emergency. So just for me, I would just say that it seems like one, just because of that.
Point of clarification, please. Are we prioritizing for this year's capital budget? Or just something in general? For the next 5 years, or what's our framework?
Yes.
But
Yes, you're right, because we'll be starting our budget at the county in July, so you're prioritizing for the budget that we're gonna be dealing with for next year.
Yeah, so if they're not gonna do this till 2028, in my mind, that's a 3-year report. In next year, it'll go up around, and the next year it'll go up. No. Okay.
these might not, probably won't pass through us next year.
No, they won't.
So we're looking at it as an individual item, whether they're looking at this year's budget or they're looking at the 2028 budget. We're looking at it as what's the priority of this getting done.
In the next 5 years.
But we're looking at it as, correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking at this as a 2028 budget item. But looking at the criticality of it, does it fall as a one, that it must be done in 2028, or do we look at it as, you know, even though it shows up in 2028, if it go, do we feel like it fall down to a 4 because, you know, it's not that critical? I guess I would look at it as, in 2028, we have this being presented to us. And then also for 2028, we're gonna be replacing, the sandbox at one of the parks. If this goes down, to me, that's, as Mr. Quinlan said, that's a critical item, if this goes down. They feel that what we have now is gonna be good till 2028, so it's put in the 2028 budget. But if this goes down, this is a critical item. Yeah, the sandbox falls apart, we can go pull the boards out, and we still have sand there.
Okay, let
It's
me-
in-
I'm having a hard time, but I hung up the numbers. Never mind. We're not supposed to pay attention to numbers.
He will figure out.
Yeah, okay.
Curiosity.
So anything that has to do with the upgrade, this is on the. That was,
I mean, that's my understanding.
that's kind of what I had coming in here. That's a gotta do, period.
Out of curiosity, budget for this year, you start by my housing, the 28 stuff, so you reserve it.
I guess too, sorry, Steve, I don't mean to, but you have a lot of knowledge about this, I know you're newer to the board, but. When you're doing budgeting, you're not looking at CIPs for 2028, you're just looking for the calendar budget. Because we never have money for everything.
No, but I mean, I'm not saying that we'll start budgeting and laying away money for this type of project. You know, it's a couple years down the road, we'll start budgeting for it. We're setting money aside type of thing, but in essence, the budget that we're doing is for the next fiscal year.
So. And sorry, I mean, I may have had an odd question on the way I posed this. And then I guess what I mean is, so the other ones that may fit into that budget, you're talking 2025, 2026. 2025 or in 2020.
Right, yeah, budget for 2026.
So those ones, relative to a lot of the questioning, makes more sense of trying to prioritize based on money. I'm not saying that we need to be doing that. We should be doing that. You get around question.
I understand, but I don't think I think what this board here is in essence doing is the priority. You're not necessarily looking at the funds because you don't necessarily know the funds that are available.
Right.
Itself, ranking it and ranking, decide if it's of what it is for the county board to budget this.
And less based on what calendar year it's gonna be budgeted. Like just by face value, what this thing is, we rated one.
Yeah, I guess when I've done this in the past, I've never rated it for, this is.
That's what I did, so I'm trying to choose that we're making this more complicated.
You are.
That's what I'm not trying to.
Let's
all to that page.
The county board ultimately, as Steve can say himself, ultimately makes a decision on when and how much to spend.
And I
So that leaves us out. We just basically are saying, this is really important, not very important, very important.
And it's actually helpful, I mean, at the end of the day, it's less work for the board if we kind of have these conversations, but we don't need to get hung up on the dollar amount or
when.
the year that it's gonna happen. So I just wanted to clarify that.
So when I was reading it, prepared by my man, and so you understand this whole system, and the life expectancy roughly 7 years, and they had the project timeline of 2028. So I would give it a priority 4, which is desirable, maybe postponed, and certainly there are funds available sooner, and you decide this moves up as a priority because you've seen failures, then the option is to move it up and do it. It doesn't, by giving it a priority 4, doesn't mean that you put it way at the end of the line, but if it somehow becomes more essential.
But we won't be addressing this again to prioritize it.
Right,
Unless it gets resubmitted.
Right.
right,
So we need to look at it at face value right now.
okay,
Back to this is one.
okay.
In my opinion,
Ms. Bailey?
I said 4.
I think it's one.
Okay, number 1.
I had originally ranked it a 3rd, and then I went to a 4, so I'll stick to 3.
That's where I was at 3, it's important, it says. But,
Mr.
they're using round numbers like 400,000.
I put it as three.
I'm really confused. I understand the priority of it, and it's not gonna come back here again, that should be really fine. If it's gonna come back here and resubmit it, I give it 3 years. So, if we don't want it to come back,
No, just rate it based off of what you see here, not just to start rating how much it's gonna cost or. What you have right in front of you,
then
is it urgent, very important?
yes, one.
No.
And say once, viewing it, is it a luxury or is it a strong need? And it's a strong need, so it's a one.
Mel, what was your rating?
Three.
And Rush?
Four.
What did we get you?
And I struggle back and forth between 1 and 2. I'd probably go with the 1.
That's where the math happens in now.
I don't remember who's done this in the past, I'm asking you a question here. If we, are we averaging the scores or is it what's the most?
That usually the majority, I believe, but I don't know if it's that big of a deal.
Alright, let's look at the tie here. You know, the 1 and 3, 1 and 4, or sorry, 3. Of 1 and 3.
Four. I mean, I think it's 3, but.
4, 1, 4, 3.
Oh, we did have ones?
4, 1, 1, 4, 3, so you wanna,
1, 4.
you wanna make it
Two.
2?
Split the difference. 2 fours.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 4 to
Yeah.
3, and that'll take you.
That's true. Go. 3.
The 3 minutes?
Yeah,
Three.
Okay. The next one is LCSO mobile radio replacement.
This is land of the first one.
This is mandated. Yeah, you do the first one. Saying the next one. So go to the next one.
Basically, it says the state of Michigan will require, so. Any more discussion?
No. Number one.
What?
Number
2.
I did one.
One.
No. And I was one.
Okay.
Next one is LCSO radio replacement project. Also mandated. Any discussion?
There's 2 big numbers right in the row.
Yeah.
Really big numbers. Yeah. And I don't have enough knowledge to know which one would possibly slide this year.
If we're discussing the numbers, I guess really don't matter. We're just looking at it as priorities. occur as a need.
No, maybe it was put into 2026, but you just can't affect the plan.
Bit of confusion here. You got three of the first five projects are all dealing with radios. So it doesn't make sense to me. Radio replacement projects. You got two ways to go.
So they're different. The one that we just did was mobile radio replacement.
Yeah, I know.
And this one is radio replacement, which is probably like base. And yeah. So more than likely, the first one that we did is the encryption. You probably can't get the radios ahead of time without the encryption, otherwise the radio won't.
You can't use it without that.
You can't use them without encryption.
I mean, it all makes sense to me. I don't know what numbers are scary, but.
That makes sense, or am I right on it?
Yeah, no, that's, and that's how I would describe it as well.
Okay.
Can we take a shot at over here?
Yeah, that would work, because there's no encryption. So this is a ranking, Bailey?
It's gotta be one then, because.
One for me.
Okay.
That's one.
Yeah, I'll go with one again.
Mr.
The number one.
Two.
Mr. One. Mr. Ricky, one. I like one, not one. That's a one. Project number 6, LE tower deconstruction. Okay. As I was reading through that, basically there's 2 towers out here. There was a new one that was constructed that's taller. They want to take everything off the old tower and put it on the new tower and then dismantle the new tower, or the new tower. But I don't see. Myself, I didn't see anything. Pressing.
I mean, my only caveat there is that, and again, it's just reading the language, I don't have any further knowledge than what's presented in front of us, but it says transferring necessary equipment from the home tower. Now, is it completely necessary to have that transfer completely to have the new one operating? It sounds like maybe that's the case with this language. Always trying to save the county money, they don't have to buy equipment they've already purchased, it's on a single tower. Maybe it is a higher priority to save the county money now. Get a new weekend, but just. That's my thoughts.
So, Steve, I think there's some, somebody that might want that tower, there's some idea that you could sell it, rather than selling it for scrap.
Yeah, I think there was like a phone company or something that might have wanted it, but I haven't heard anything further. Yeah, so that would have been on the record, because I don't know.
Do you have any further knowledge about like
No.
the operation of the new tower or anything?
Any
other else is there?
One would hope that if there is scrap value, that it's factored into the cost already.
Mhm.
And if it is, fine. If it isn't, we don't know. Can't worry about scratch. Thing that I'm reading will reduce the possibility. Doesn't say that if you don't do it, we got a problem, just have a possibility.
That's what I read into it as well. That it sets there for the next 5 years before it gets transferred over. It doesn't say that it's gonna be critical. It just says that it can improve the line of sight between towers by putting it on a taller tower. But it doesn't say that nothing's not working right now.
Okay.
Mr. Ricky?
Similar to the one that we had previously, I don't think this is a capital expenditure. I think this is an operations budget.
Myself, not qualified for that.
It is a capital expense because the county owns the tower, so it's a capital expense.
I don't know where I come from, if there's nothing wrong with the tower, like it's gonna fall down, why are you taking it down? You know, who knows what the technology is gonna bring in the next year or 2 or 3, where, you know. We don't wanna be a typical government and find ourselves having to put a tower back up for some added equipment that we wanna add. And the only reason stated is removing one of the towers for the property will be celebrated by many local residents and visitors. I don't know any visitors that would even know what it is. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, if it was my business, I wouldn't take it down. It's there. You don't know what you might need it for in the future. So to put it down, see there. To put it as a high number on the chip expenses to take it down is no. I mean, I'll go over on this no matter what, so.
Yeah, force is desirable.
Yeah.
Can't postpone.
Yeah.
One question about the, and I'm trying to get the details, and they don't break the $80,000. Maybe I misunderstood. Is the $80,000 for the transfer of existing equipment to the new one and the demolition of the old tower? Or there's 2 different subjects?
That's the way I read it.
So the key question is if it's $60,000 move, or maybe it's only 15 or 20, and you don't, you may not have anything to tear it down. That still doesn't discount. I don't want to discount your point though, because that could be valid. You don't want to spend extra money because you need another power. Understand how much the demolition should be versus transfer. I mean, it could be like I know basic.
Or maybe there are savings there, and that's where right up to the board. I think more I'm on that discussion.
Need more?
Well, I'd say it's more, but I'm trying to sell it. Find somebody like a tower. Maybe it's part of it. They have to take the whole thing.
Rent it out.
Yes, so rank it,
Sounding sarcastically critical, I'm not sure that tower ever needed to be built. It reminds me of a sign when I was a kid that said, plan ahead, and the D was falling off. There are so many towers now. Back in our township, Andy Grant was one of our township planning commissioners. On his property has a new tower. That from the base of that tower, he can see downtown Leelanau. And that tower stands over 200 feet above him. My point being, maybe the existing tower, after this tower gets destroyed, is not an appropriate tower. Consequently, I'm voting for this.
I was looking for 5, but I couldn't find
I was worried wrong.
Yeah.
Last one is annual pro car purchase. This is the third go around that I've had on this, and every time I set through this, I hear, why do we even have this on here if we're have to purchase them anyways, but it is a capital expense. And it is a needed expense. You gotta turn your vehicle over, otherwise you don't want to break it down in the middle of a high-speed chase.
So how many vehicles is this for?
4.
Four?
I
That's what I was gonna send you.
You didn't
think
see
it said, I thought I said, I read 4.
Oh, no, I can read it.
I didn't see anything about it.
It says they got 26 vehicles
Right.
fleet.
It should show us something.
I might have read something in this, but sorry.
Other vehicles that just go over it, so it's not like they have 26 vehicles. They have 26 vehicles, nonetheless.
So what happened to, there was a presentation about a fleet management company handling purchases. I remember at that discussion at the county commission meeting, and that seemed like a pretty good idea. I don't know where to go. You've got somebody who buys cars and asset funds and be at the top instead of something like bottom one, two. So you have anything about that, Steve? You do.
That's where we have ideas, what, how many they did.
It is.
It is.
See, that's.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Where do you see sport?
It's in the.
Excuse me, that gave us an out earlier in the week. So right now, financial report is-
That's actually a pretty good deal for. What's going on and everything. I had to need something discount purchase for.
Well, any more discussion? Okay.
I'd say 2.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, you have like Orkovich, did he do like a meeting? You guys need to talk about the need for the floor? I mean, I'd be. You know, I'd be. And I think in the past, I think it's been 1, I don't know if anyone, Gail, you know? In the past, I feel like this has been ranked as a 1.
So, yeah, 1. Last year, 1.
I mean, I would usually want to stick with that and consistency sake, just knowing that it seems to be generally on when they're approaching the. If you don't know mileage, so. I would probably lean to just call it 1. Just because it has been fast.
Yeah, I want as well, I understand the point that. We always question why it's on here, and I believe it's budgeted and required them to do it, so that's why. Reason my rank people on, so.
I leave it right where it's at, 1. That's what they've had it in the past.
I read it.
1.
2.
So I go 1. Question is there. It's gotta be long. They know the vehicles and they know what's on every year. This just should. Be knowledge in the next 7 years, what's coming in this year. Good. But I'm saying they should have a log of when the vehicle was purchased, it's a 7-year deal. It is, it's, we should know, they should give us a chart for the next 7 years. Say, yeah. Right there now.
I know they have that on file, but that wasn't given to us.
So 1.
I'm on 1 as well, working for the road commission, I do know we purchased 2 new trucks, 2 new plow trucks, just to keep them in rotation. I think we have 24 trucks total, so that gives us 6 to 12 years for each truck. Works out for us that way, mileage wise, we really don't go based on that, we go based on buying 2 trucks a year. We drive out 2 old ones off the list.
Yeah, my only other comment, and that's changing one that's still in it. I think in years past, there was an opportunity for some other municipality, county, department that was able to get one of the vehicles that was retired, and that helped save some money for the county. I'd be curious if that's still kind of a thing that the county goes with. And I know you mentioned it, because I know Steve here is on that one. So, definitely my other comment. So hopefully, I like.
And we bought, the road commission, we bought 2 used trucks because we wanted to stay still.
Well, you know, they're so well maintained, you know, instead of.
Oh, we got rid of the trucks, we just bought them for the bed. Coming with it.
So it sounds like it's 1-to-1. I think that puts us at the end of the CIPs.
Why doesn't this one get a program? Like we just did the sheriff's. I mean, we know what's gonna happen. Why are we looking in here? It's always been one. Let's put it in the budget and it's in there forever. It's in there forever.
Yeah, that's sure what. I think all items.
Well, there's an inconsistency among us.
Just like we all budget items or
Have to go through this process.
has to go through this process.
That's why.
That's okay. All I'm saying is that we just got on programming the transition in the sheriff's department. And it's scheduled for 1-1-1-1-1. Right. Why is this 1-1-1-1-1? It's just coming back here every year and be clear to one.
Maybe perhaps because they put a budget price in, and so that estimated price goes into the CIP. That doesn't get out, I'm sure it goes up because there's no money for it.
I don't know what this is yet.
Yeah.
Next item is membership schedule.
Right.
Waiting on them,
Yeah, I included all of the applications that they have filed. Only one of them fits the business category, you notice. I did. I'm trying to, I know there was a discussion on maybe somebody was willing to switch categories, move around, but then the problem becomes. We don't know for sure if you would have to then change your term. And your term would be expired in December. So I haven't gotten an answer back on that yet. I don't know if you want to look through these, there's only one Rebecca Benedict who fits the business category. I did reach out to her. She wasn't too sure, she kind of wanted to sit in on a meeting to see maybe if she was interested. I invited her to come tonight.
Well, she's on the parts and rec.
Okay. This is what I've got her, she's not, didn't know for sure. I don't know if you want to discuss her, or if you want to wait until I can get an answer on somebody moves and fills the business. Does their term then expire according to that business category, or keep their term? Because Lois, you had mentioned switching, but
Right.
yeah, your term is I think 27 expire, so
So that we can move to NN 26,
25,
25.
yeah.
Oh, gosh, nice.
Well, that doesn't mean you have to go away.
I know.
So I was talking to the clerk and she's been working on this too, we don't have an answer yet.
Okay.
So is this something we're gonna have a vote on here, or just discussion?
This board makes a recommendation to the county board. So we could recommend, you know, Rebecca, if you wanted to. Or you can wait till like I get a better answer. And then we have more to choose from, you know?
I always like to see if there was a little bit of word that had name it, sorry, else. But she doesn't really have a basis that I kind of fit this category.
But she is the one I reached out to and said she was definitely interested.
I like to hear that too. But just we're having kind of a discussion that, I mean, I'd like to see that. Maybe there is a way we can reorganize. I think Rebecca would be a good candidate as well, but she's not interested then. We'll just be doing this again. I don't want to waste someone in there.
Yeah.
Well, 4 of us are out here at the end of the year. 4 other categories. The year.
You mean if you don't renew?
Yes.
You can serve more one term.
Right. Yes, but I'm just saying that, you know, so some of these people, if they're good, but maybe not business, could be revisited, you know, as openings are available or something.
Do we have any actual like term out? I think we did it this year.
This year?
I think my term is up.
But you would still be.
I don't think I'm eligible to
You're
come
up.
back. I've been here 3 terms.
Brian. I can't hear. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to be, I wasn't sure, but it does sound like we would have one that's served for three consecutive terms, so. Be locked out. So we'll have, what is your? Category.
I'm in municipal government. I did serve once as education. Municipal government.
Well, I'm in favor of Rebecca, but I also am realistic in knowing how much work it is to be Parks and Rec and to be on a subcommittee for park and to be on the planning commission. And she is kind of like so it's quite a load. Yeah. No, Allison, I don't know that she's served. That would be a fresh face. I find that interesting.
I think also she's coming from, they're talking about Maple City, which is, sometimes I people from that area serve. Anything, plus maybe this group could benefit from social work, you know. From time to time. But I wouldn't be opposed to Allison either. Do you know what project manager activities were already?
No.
He's done social work for 20 years, I think she said. Yeah.
So does anybody consider James with the mortgage banking background business? James Van Steenhouse?
It'd be possible to have Allison, I mean, have her submit as business, or is that not possible? Being that she already has submitted. Because I'm just trying to figure out, are we gonna create a conflict if you point somebody that doesn't fit in that creates a vacancy?
Hold this for application.
Nobody. How it actually. Yeah.
They do care. That's kind of part of the deal, you know.
Who does?
I would have to have an admin office. Buffer,
You're not necessarily she should.
reapply. I don't know what to do with the applications.
Right, yeah, because I know it's past the deadline, so I'm not sure if that's even possible. But,
I can add that.
Yeah.
We just want to hold off on this for now.
I think so.
Might be wise to get a few more questions answered, from the clerk's office, figure out what we legally can navigate through here.
You say there was expiration given for for applications like expired, is that right?
Well, generally, applications come in the fall or something that are due by October, November or something.
Yeah, I think I over.
Something like that, so, but sometimes I do allow,
Maybe I.
You can advertise, you know.
right? You can pretty much submit it any time, I guess, but they're due by.
I get what you're saying. I was pushing it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe 3 years.
For myself, I was appointed in April or May, but actually I didn't apply until February or March. Because the transportation category was vacant and Trudy was looking for somebody. So they took my, accepted my application.
That's similar to what happened for me too. And that was 2020.
They did.
All right, yes, let's put this one on. Hold
Put it
on.
on ice.
Yeah.
Last item, the 2024 annual report.
It's a work in progress. We're still need training hours for people. We just wanted you to look at it and see what we're missing here. We're gonna be updating other information on here. Please give us your training hours.
You have a list of what we've already given you.
Nothing.
Okay.
When do you want this done?
Today.
Yeah. As soon as you give us the information, we can get this finalized and you guys can approve it.
We had the, what was this stuff?
Anybody else do that fall question?
I was there, well, put it down, probably, I believe that was the only one I did, so.
I'm in that same boat.
You were there?
I have that one, you know.
I had done some other stuff, but I don't think it qualifies for planning. There's like certified, right, planning training, it's not.
No.
I
It
have
is.
6 hours kind of ed class every year.
Did the workshop with Mary Riley count?
Huh?
Did the workshop with Mary Riley count?
Yeah.
So I was in that. There's more of us there than there was.
Yes, yeah. Well, so there, there. Yeah, we did this is that, was Steve and Lois with that. That's solar thing.
Yeah.
So Mel and
I wasn't officially a member, but I was.
This is last year, so technically, you should have near hours, that's.
I have completed the census planner, program. You get a record? I've checked out all.
Oh, no.
So it's just my word. I was.
Okay.
Any more?
I think that's it.
All right. Move on to reports. Who wants to go over the general fund?
It's been creaking on slowly, but maybe we're setting progress. We can compile our comments from each person that's looking at the plan and comment those or send them to Gail so that she can kind of put it into our initial draft so we don't have to try to find pages sitting at the table. And then that is. and I'm the park and rec person too. We still haven't had a subcommittee meeting for Miles Kimberly, but I think that's scheduled for June 14th. Anyway, trying to get this up to speed. The maps and master plan for the park and rec committee are very different to read. Backup plan, we have township plans, flat maps, something. They're kind of cut off, so you don't see the whole picture.
I'm on that committee as well, that's whole settlers park, subcommittee, and I guess our main project has been, I don't know, what's the idea on that? I have 6. It seems like.
Communications? None? Public comment yet? Seeing none?
Yeah.
Staff comments?
I don't have anything.
Mission comments? No?
Couple. I'd like to thank Jenny and her team for putting together what looked like a well-organized waste management Saturday. In contrast to what the week before was, you were there, you were checking people off. And we were there the week before as well with hazardous waste, or with electric waste. And I don't know if you got any feedback from that, but it didn't matter if you signed up or not for that. I think that it did matter that people signed up for yours. And when I arrived for the week before, I was there at 10 o'clock, my appointment was for 10 o'clock. There were 14 vehicles ahead of me. When I left, there were 62 vehicles. Very nice people, but didn't know what they were doing. So that compliment to you is sincerely, you guys have organized, it moved on time, things were well handled, thank you. And I carry this book with me to every public meeting I go to. And in preparing for this meeting, I found that I had lost the partner to this. And so I'm asking you, please, if anybody has seen a black pen that has some value to me as a gift from my wife. And I've been backtracking all day, all of the places I went to public meetings. But no one is aware of it. So if there's, I spoke to Jenny earlier, if any of you have seen a pen like that here, it's just black. It is a Mont Blanc. It's a German-made pen, and the pencil partner is missing. So those are my 2 remarks. Thank you.
What?
Nothing.
No, just, we're gonna have a rezoning coming from Story Township here. Next month, for planner gets it to staff time, but then have more work, I guess, so. It's just that's up, I guess. That's the only thing I have.
I am the newest member of the Leelanau Sewer Commission, and so I will have updates next month.
Okay.
Keep them up on meetings.
As far as the road commission goes, I don't know if everybody's noticed the striping has been on the road, but we got that done about 1 month earlier this year than normal. It was quite nice. We got all the crack sealing completed and ahead of getting our chip sealing done. And our chip sealing will probably start sometime around the middle of June, go to July. Sometime around.
Thank you for getting those crack sealed on the way into Suttons Bay.
So for the most part, that's it.
Are you guys the ones that are picking up all the issues?
Repeat that.
Are you the ones that are picking out or any of the ditches?
Yeah, we're doing some ditching.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So with that, I guess meeting adjourned.
probably 30 years ago.